morning. Yes, it's awful nice to have you all with us as well. Kelly Harold, you have our invocation today.
I do. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So over 20 years ago, my very first invocation, I didn't know what in the world to say or pray about or do. I decided to read my my favorite prose poem. I wish this was mine. But you probably know it, and if you don't know it, they're great words to live by. It's called The Desperado. It's written by Max Ehrman and was published or written sometime in the 1920s or so. Just great words that I love and actually hang on both in my home and in my office. In my opinion, it's Max's interpretation of some of the great parts of Romans. So just listen along. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, you may become vain and bitter. For always there will be a greater and lesser person than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career. However humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings, for many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in this noisy confusion of life, be at peace with yourself. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. If you'll join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of the things we think, say, and do.
Is the truth, is it fair to all concerned, will it build goodwill and better friendships, will it be beneficial to all concerned.
Mark, can I ask Mark Luttrell to introduce our guests?
I was hoping you'd catch me while I'm still standing. All right, good morning. We have 46 in attendance today, but we also have a big crowd of guest Rotarians and guests. So the guest Rotarians are Carl Ashby from Greensboro, Dave McCoy from the High Point Club, and Ben Powell from Guilford. Welcome to all of you. And then Judy Brumley has a guest.
This is my friend, excuse me, this is my friend Cheryl Brandberg, and she's with Junior Achievement, and she's interested in looking into our club a little bit deeper. So I'm glad to have this.
Welcome, Cheryl. David Graves has a guest.
My guest is Mike Bowers, my production for the club, and he's been here 6 months. Rotary.
Tom Nelson, you have a guest. Wherever you are, there you are.
Y'all have met Dale before. He's been upgraded. He is now transferred from me over to Lisa. So he's
Jim Person has a guest.
Mike Santa, this is Mike Gatton. Mike's presented to us before. We ran into him at 5:05 last night. We had about 15 people out, and I said, come on to breakfast and check us out one more time as a guest rather than a speaker. So he's here checking us out this morning.
And then our one other guest is our speaker today. It's Leslie Isakoff, and I'll let Walt introduce her at the time. So
That's great.
Thank you.
Mark, thank you. Dale, did we have anyone get any older this week, or any anniversaries, or any
We
other
have
special
2
days?
weeks, 2 weeks of,
2 weeks.
yeah, because we didn't have a meeting last week. Okay, on July 14th, Jim Roberts was going to be celebrating his birthday. Be here today? Member anniversaries. Mid-Middleton will be celebrating 14 years on the 5th with our club. And Guy Robondo on the 12th is celebrating 12 years with Cape City Rotary. And we have 3 wedding anniversaries. 2 took place the day after the 4th of July. Tony and Cheryl Villiard celebrated their 16th anniversary, 15th anniversary. And Kimberly and Brian Dang celebrated their 22nd anniversary. And on the 7th of July, Julie and Tom Nelson had an anniversary as well. That's it.
Where is Ralph? You've got your head kind of he's kind of hiding a little bit behind James Edwards. He's kind of, well, I can't see, but he's back here with a big smile on his face. Come on up, come up here.
I'm not sitting up there, Chip.
You know, I have a project for you. It's going to be very time consuming. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's, I hope you're up to it, and I got to charge you with it. You know, Ralph did a great job leading our club last year. I so enjoyed being your understudy. You did a great job for us. Thank you. And there's one last little piece of business I have, and this I'm told this has been as polished and burnished and is presentation ready now. This is the official past president's.
Well, thank you very much.
You're in charge. Your project is to affix it to your sport coat or lapel as you see fit.
First pin I'll ever wear from the club.
Wear that with pride.
I will.
So in the last few weeks, we had a pretty special event. You know what? We're going to do this like a game. And Ralph, I'll let you, you'll be the one that gets to play this game, by the way. Okay, it's going to be in the form of Jeopardy. So, and you have to answer in the form of a question. What is, so, a gathering of 30 or 40,000 Rotarians in a large international city is the clue.
What is the international conference? Convention. Yeah.
What is the international convention? Well, very good. In fact, Ralph, I'll give you some. I'll give you some raffle tickets for that. That's the right answer. So we did have the international convention. It was in Toronto. Yeah, I know you had a little bit of help. But I've asked a few of our members if they would just give who attended. We had 3 members attend. I wonder if I could get you guys to make, starting with Mike Conrad, if you would just make care to share just a couple impressions.
Well,
of it.
it's just incredible. If you've ever been to a district conference, it just takes it to the next level. There was 25,000 Rotarians in Toronto. It's not Toronto. If you're from Toronto is Toronto. And just the plenary sessions are outstanding. The speakers, we had Laura Bush, who was incredible. Justin Trudeau. So we do balance in Rotary. And in addition, you meet old friends. We have friends from Finland, friends from all over the different countries. And when you get together, you have this bond because we know we're doing good in the world. So it's just a great atmosphere. And I would recommend anybody that ever goes, you'll go back again. And I will tell you, Gigi's gone. This is her 2nd year. And I know Jim Kennedy has been before as well. So great experience.
Jim, you want to make I'm right here. You have a couple
Yeah,
impressions?
I just echo what Mike says, except if you've lived there a while, it's Tron.
But I'm from the South. South Toronto.
I've been to 4 conventions, and the thing that impresses me the most is you're really struck by the internationality of Rotary. You're there with people from Thailand, China, Europe, of course, Philippines, and we played the tourist when we were up there, even though we lived there decades ago, and we met people from all over the world. And one of the best things about the International Conference is the House of Friendship, where clubs who have Rotary action groups set up booths, they have vendors, they have, it's just incredible. And like Mike says, the speakers were great, very inspiring. I particularly liked that speaker that spoke about that leapfrog pad that he was using to help people speak English. You just hear about the great projects and things that are going on through Rotary clubs and Rotary districts around the world. I think in a few years, the next conference on this continent will be in Houston. So if you don't want to travel overseas, which would be great, next year's in Hamburg, I would put it on the schedule to go to Houston in a few years.
Good. Good to know.
The year after next, it's in Hawaii.
That's right. Where's it? Where's that? Where's that? Mike?
It's in Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Hawaii, Chip. Hawaii.
Give me a break.
You're doing great if I was in Hawaii.
Okay. Settle down.
Yeah.
Enough fun with that. We have a very special event that we need to, a special recognition I'd like to do. Dave McCoy, if you'll come up, and Mike Conrad, if I can ask you to come up, please, for this special presentation.
Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here again. I visit this club fairly frequently. I'm Paul Harris Society Chair for the district, and because of the activity and the number of people that you have in the Paul Harris Society, it gives me an opportunity to visit a wonderful Gate City club, and good to be here. Paul Harris Society is differentiated from Paul Harris Fellow, whereas Paul Harris Society, it is a commitment to do $1,000 a year to our Rotary Foundation. To go to the annual fund, polio, or an approved global grant. And it can be done in many ways. You don't have to just sit down and write a check for $1,000. It can be done over the course of the year. It's interesting to note that out of 1.2 million Rotarians worldwide, about 14% are Paul Harris Society members. But of that 14%, they give over 38% of the funding yearly to the foundation. This is quite impressive. And this morning, I have a wonderful opportunity. I'm going to ask Lisa to come forward. She is the newest Paul Harris Society member for the Gate City Club. And if I put that on the banner, Lisa, it probably would end up upside down. So I'm going to ask you, Chip, or somebody to place that on the banner. And that is your Paul Harris Society badge. And then this is your pin shield that is worn with your Rotary pin, which, by the way, it's an invisible pin that she's wearing. So, thank you so much. And I think Mike now is going to do some Paul Harris Plus recognitions. And if you're a Paul Harris Society member, you get another plus every year.
There you go. And you move up quickly. And as you'll note, with adding Lisa, we have 14 members that are Paul Harris Society members in our club, which is really 20% of our members, which is incredible. And so I really thank you for those that are members, and of course we're always looking for new ones for doing good in the world. And as David said, as you give to the Rotary Foundation, you obtain multiple Paul Harris Fellows. And today we want to recognize some multiple Paul Harris Fellows, and I'm going to call you up if you would. And the first one is Dan Farley, who is a +1, meaning he's given $2,000 to our Rotary Foundation. So Dan, I know you're here. And +2 is Dan Farlow.
Get Dale.
Dale Farlow, sorry. This is a tough morning. +3 is Bobby C. Bobby Christensen.
Bob C.
And if you look at his Bob C over there, it's Dr. Sears. They're dressed alike except, you know. And then we have a +4 is going to be Dan Quinn, and a +4 is Jim Kennedy. So would you please come up? I keep, you know, make sure that make sure I'm dressed.
Need to speak to you about that, Dan.
Dan Quinn, he's overdressed.
That's a job interview.
Jim, thank you. Thank you for all you do for our Rotary Foundation.
Okay, do we have time for a lightning round of happy dollars?
Yeah, baby. What are you talking
We got
about?
2 weeks pinned up here. 2 weeks pinned up.
What's going on? My Conrad.
All right, as of July 4th, we have a new bell ringer in our family. We have a little girl that's going to be here by Thanksgiving. So we have an only son, we have an only child, he married an only child, and now we're having 3 grandchildren. So this is a big deal for us. So,
$3?
I'm giving $1 for Dan Quinn's shoes.
Man, that's an impressive job you're going to interview.
One for each child, of course. Just a quick update. Rosa returned safely from Peru 2 days ago after 3 weeks. No contact. We both survived. She's happy to be home, but she is so teary. She served her heart away out there, and she's just going to Spain next summer, she says, for more service. And while she was gone, Victoria successfully completed another swim season with Sherwood Swim and Tennis, who I think finished 6th, but she said they had the best season of her swim career so far, and they were just having a good summer.
Cool. July the 4th, my daughter gave me another grandson.
Last week, Dr. Sears mentioned an article that was written about he and his wife. I would recommend, if you haven't read it, to read it. It was a fantastic article. It really was.
Where was it?
Season back. You can pick it up at the grocery store. It's on the stand when you go in.
You pick it up at the warehouse, the Lewis store. $1,000. Just come by. Oh, Henry, season. What's up?
Right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Johnson. The cataract surgery hadn't
Well, it's been a couple of decades since we've done our own, since we've had our own kids in a citywide swim meet, but the 10-year-old Grayson Smith, who swam for Green Valley, along with many other kids from this club right here, and also swam against Gail's kids at Sherwood, yeah. Placed first in the open swim, not the championship, open, first out of 42. girls. So that was amazing.
Justin's kids.
Justin's
yeah,
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, Kelly, like you, you know, I have a little plaque. You know, Grandpappy Lewis said some really inspirational things. And so I have it also hung up at home and at work. No, I don't have a work. So, but it says, it takes 43 muscles to frown and 17 to smile. But it doesn't take any to just sit there with a dumb look on his face.
Kelly, I remember the first time we read Desperado. I went home and tried to look it up on the internet, but my dial-up connection was so slow. I got what I was looking for by the time it been a while. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce Leslie Isakoff. Who's going to be our speaker this morning. This is the first speaker that I booked for the year, and looking forward to hearing what she has to say. Very interesting lady, and has accomplished quite a bit already at a young age. She comes from LA, Lower Alabama. She went to Auburn University and then UAB, where she got her master's in public health. While she was there, she founded Universities Fighting World Hunger while still in school. After that, completing her education, joined United Nations World Food Program. She worked as a program specialist there, and then returned to the U.S. From Gambia, where she did some work. In addition to working with food insecurity, she's trained leaders from around the world and the Peace Corps volunteers on best public health practices and worked to eliminate clubfoot as a disability at Miracle Feed, which manages more than 250 clinics in 20 countries. Her father was a Rotarian, grandfather was a Rotarian. She became a pilot at age 16. So at any rate, I'm sure she'll have some interesting stuff for us today. Please welcome Leslie Isakoff.
Good morning.
Morning.
I read this morning that Fred Rogers is trending, and I can say that it's the first time in my life that I've honestly been on board before the trend. So I almost always start my talks with Mr. Rogers. He gave my favorite speech ever in 1997 when he won the Lifetime Achievement Award. And what he said was, "Thank you for having me, and I'm only here because I stand on the shoulders of giants and people that inspired me, and we're all here because people believed in us and encouraged us. And let's take 10 seconds to remember those people that have inspired us and allowed us to be here." So I'll watch the clock if you will take a few seconds to think about those people. Good. Thank you. I think it's a great thing to start every day remembering how lucky we are to be here and to honor those people. And I'm going to spend just a few minutes to honor the people in my life that got me here and to share why I care for hunger. So the first person I'm going to talk about is a little girl named Samantha, who I met when I was 8. My family traveled a lot, and it was important to my parents that we spent a lot of time with the kids that we were in their countries. So Samantha is from Ecuador, Quito, Ecuador, and she and I were great playmates. We played soccer every day and colored and did all kinds of stuff. But one time she colored, it was a world, and on it were kids from different countries, and they were all eating. And I didn't really get it. I drew a cat. And she said, "My dream is that one day every child will have enough to eat." And I still didn't get it. I was like, of course, everybody has enough to eat. And she shared with me that she and her family did not.
And I was furious, and so I went to my parents, and we talked a lot about there's about 25,000 kids a day that die from hunger, something that's completely solvable. So I was so thrilled that she shared that vision with me, and we've continued that vision throughout our lives. So I went home and I read everything I could about hunger and found that there's two ways to solve hunger. One is to provide accessibility to food, and the second is affordability. And I had no idea about economies and how to change affordability, but I knew about accessibility, so I wanted to become a pilot to end hunger. So I immediately started my own little business of picking up pecans in my neighbors' yards and shelling them and roasting them and selling them right back to my neighbors. And I also gave up piano lessons. So I was able to pay for my flying lessons and became a pilot and got a job with the UN when I was 18 to go fly food to refugee camps in Northern Africa. And I absolutely loved it until I got shot down. And then I didn't want to fly anymore. So I came back to the States and got some education. Went back to Africa and started implementing school nutrition programs. And what I learned is that if a child is able to eat every single day, then their brain functions. And if they don't, then their brain literally is biologically different. They can't form the synapses and neurons to create those connections. And they never are able to get that back. So it became very important to solve hunger to feed children. So eventually the Arab Spring broke out, and it became too dangerous. They were sending everybody out of that part of Africa. So I came to Duke to study Arabic and Islam with every intention of going back after the Arab Spring, but I accidentally fell in love, and he's really cute, so he's worth it. And so I moved to Greensboro. I followed him here, and we got married. And I started doing the same thing, meeting with everybody in town that I could think of that had anything to do with hunger. And I found that there were two major issues in Greensboro. One is that the local food banks simply don't have the capacity to meet the need in Greensboro right now. And then the second is that there's no true strategy and communication to end hunger long term. So we created something called a simple gesture. Have any of you heard of a simple gesture or are part of it? Okay, so quite a few. That's great. So we started in 2015, and I'm going to watch my time. Got a few more minutes. We started in 2015 with the intention of ending those two things. And the first thing we wanted to do was involve the entire community in being involved. So we created, can y'all hear me? Yes. Okay. So we started giving people these green bags, and on it is a list of items that are needed the most and a list of dates. And we ask that every time somebody goes to the grocery store that they just pick up one extra item, stick it in the bag, and on the designated date, leave it on their front porch. And that started in 2015 with about 200 families. So we picked up 3,000 pounds in 2015 on our first day. And we've grown and grown to where we're picking up from 3,000 houses across Greensboro, actually across Guilford County now. So I'm going to go back to this. So then we started a corporate kindness program where people take these to their work and do the exact same thing. They fill it up, bring it back to work, we pick it up, make it really easy, and we're picking up from about 100 businesses. So in total, we pick up about 4,500 bags every month, which is awesome. And we're giving those to places like Greensboro Urban Ministry, Backpack Beginnings, Out of the Garden, Jewish Family Services, and most recently, Guilford Food Pantry, who is just fantastic during the tornadoes. So with this, we had the goal of putting a food pantry into every single school in Guilford County. And we're not quite there. I think we just opened our 95th pantry, and we have to go to 127. So we're almost there after 3 years. So, yeah, that's what we're doing, and it's been fantastic. So far in the last 3 years, we've collected about 600,000 meals, and our goal is really to end hunger. And I think in the next 2 years, our goal is to get to 6,000 donors, and we'll be able to support every food pantry in town and really kind of meet that need. So life is good. We're doing great, and we would love for you to be a part of it. On all of your tables is a sign-up sheet and a brochure. And with that, I'll open up to questions. Yeah, I think your hand went up first.
I just want to share with you how things can come full circle. So
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. They're very active, and one of my daughters had a friend coming for, I don't even remember what it was, but whatever she was bringing, she brought in this green bag. I had no idea what it was, but she said to me, "This is my mom's most important bag. So you've got to promise," and I promised her, because she was leaving her stuff with me, going off, and I wasn't going to see her again. "Please, she made the biggest deal about this green bag and how important it was to her mom and to get it back to her. So it's really emotional, like, to hear why that bag was so important to her. And I want a green bag now.
Yeah, please sign up. So if you sign up, we'll deliver one of these bags to you. We've actually gotten big enough where we split the city in half. So on even months, we pick up from half of the city, and odd months, we pick up on the other half of the city. So depending on where you live, you get a different green bag.
Okay.
Some of them are forest green. This is the lime.
It was lime.
Okay.
My second question is Paige on that list? Is Paige High School?
Yes, Paige High School is on the list. We opened that pantry 2 years ago. Last year was their first year. And last year, they served just 60 families. So our goal, and we're working with a group of high school students, in fact, I'm going there right after this, to really let the entire school know that it's there and it's an available resource, and to get the students involved in supporting that and being a part of it. So yeah, Paige is just amazing. So yeah.
Who picks up the bags?
Oh, this is awesome. So our goal was really to get the entire community involved, and we've had several volunteers, about 400 driver volunteers sign up. So we assigned somebody the 20 houses in their neighborhood, and exact routes to all of those neighborhoods, and then it ends at the pantry that they're assigned to. So we never get any of the food. But that's been one of the things that we didn't really know how that was going to go, and it's just been amazing how many people have taken this to be something that's really important to them. Yes, sir.
I have a question concerning the partnerships. Is a simple gesture, like if you donate food to Greensboro Urban Ministry, is your idea to kind of make sure people don't forget about being involved in a food drive and be a good delivery mechanism so that it's not something that is kind of out of sight, out of mind, or
Yeah. So what our goal was that people really think about food all the time, and that food doesn't go away. People have to eat every day, but often food drives are kind of a one-off, kind of around Christmas, and people think about it a little bit in the summertime when kids are out of school. But people are hungry all the time, especially in Greensboro, which y'all may not know that Greensboro is ranked the 9th hungriest city in the United States. So that was our goal, was to have an ongoing food program. And because most people sign up for this and give it every single time, the pantries know how much is coming in, which helps with programs, so they can start in a new school and not be worried if they're going to be able to continue giving to that. So it's worked pretty well.
And a follow-up question, how do you determine where you will send the food that you pick up?
Yeah, so our strategy is really primarily around school feeding right now. So about 80% of our food goes to Backpack Beginnings and Out of the Garden, because they're so focused on school feeding, especially during the weekend and the summer time. And then the rest of it goes to some of the other pantries. But we have a very good relationship with all of the pantries. So if they get a big food drive from somebody, we know that we can send it to somebody else. And so it's been really nice to bring everybody to the table and talk about where the food should go and to be more intentional about that. In the back?
Yeah, maybe more of an observation and a question at the same time. In May of every year, you're aware of the food drive that happens here in Greensboro, where various grocery stores and other food outlets get involved in a weekend-long food drive where people set up within the grocery stores, and it's a collective effort. I've been involved with that for a number of years. My thought is, and really an observation and a question to you, why do grocery stores not on an ongoing basis do this? Because every weekend that I've ever been involved in that, a simple ask at the register for a can of beans for 69 cents, would you like to add it to your list? You know, 90% of the people say, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But I'm just wondering why grocery stores, maybe you've heard from them, why they would not participate on a yearly basis and make it much more efficient for groups like yourself who have to do the distribution, pick it all up at the grocery store rather than have to put it in bags, pick it up, you know, and then distribute it.
I totally agree, and if you can figure that out, that would be amazing.
I mean, it really seems like something that if I was a Food Lion, for instance, you know, why not make that part of who you are?
Yeah.
And I think it would encourage people. I mean, they're selling the product, and I think it would encourage people to shop at places like that that are fully engaged in the effort, especially within communities.
Yeah, we've talked to them, and we haven't gotten very far. One thing that I will give y'all a tip on, things on the end of the aisle and in special displays, they don't reshelve those when the displays are over. They give those away. So I always try not to shop the displays. Just go to the actual item on the aisle. So, but they do give away a lot of food, but I think you're exactly right. That would be really helpful.
I think they do. I mean, I think in the mind of, say, the Food Lion, it may be a bit of a conflict of interest. I mean, even if they're only doing a 69-cent ask. I know PetSmart does it. I know other places do it. But I really think the real reason that it doesn't work is because maybe two. I think the big chains are already giving their surplus or about to expire food to, you know, Second Harvest and other places like that. But I think the real reason that it works is that it doesn't work there, but it does work at the grassroots level, is because the whole heart of mankind longs to be bound together in a heroic event. I mean, like a service project, you know, that we do, or something like that. And so I think involving more people, even though it's not nearly as efficient, you know, I think it gets the word out, and you know, I think you really can shorten the line of hunger and hopelessness. I'd like to know the difference between, I'd like you to tell my friends the difference between a food bank and a food pantry. The terms are often used synonymously, but there is a difference.
There is a difference, yeah. So a food bank is usually a point of distribution. So, for example, Backpack Beginnings, individuals don't go there. It's a huge warehouse, and volunteers go there and pick up the food and then take it to a pantry where individuals can come and get the food. So they're storing the food, they're organizing it, and then they send it out, and we're manageable.
They may even be selling it to partner agencies.
Yeah, so for example, Second Harvest Food Bank does sell it's a management fee is what they call it, but they kind of sell their food to other food pantries around town. So I think, is that my last question? One last one.
More quick. I was just going to say, we do a quarterly food drive, or we did last year, and the food from our last drive is in our closet, so we'd like to donate that to you.
Please, yes, I'll give you my card.
President that will have it.
Were you just holding it for today, Ralph?
That's real quick. What do you do in the summer. What do you do when school closes for 3 or 4, 5 days? It's snow. You know?
Yeah, so the summertime is always really exciting. Until 3 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot being done. 2 years ago, we started giving out food at 30 different locations around Guilford County. And then this year, because that was going really well, we got a grant from the USDA. So 7 days a week, the food is made at schools and distributed at, I think, 65 different locations. So things are going pretty well. If they're not perfect, we got a long way to go. If any of your businesses would be interested in helping with this, because we're getting out a lot of food in the summertime, we always need a lot of food in August, so we do a big push for our businesses in August. And in February, it seems like food donations are always down, so we work a lot with businesses in February. So thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate it.